Hang on, son of a gun. Oh, you freaking kidding me. ¿Dónde está?
It's time for the drive with Q on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. Now, here's Q.
Good afternoon, everyone. 3 o'clock straight up on the East Coast. Indeed, a Wednesday edition of The Drive with Q coming at you live inside the friendly confines of the Sports Radio 102.9 FM studios. I'm your host, as always, Rich Quinones, mi hermano, Adrian Martinez, producing the show behind the glass, keeping us on the air. 2 hours to play with. We'll take you up to 5 o'clock straight up on this 4th of September 2024. As always, don't forget the 727-858-6650. Bring something to the table. You can text, you can tweet, Facebook comments, you can chime in. We got a lot of stuff to dive into over the next 2+ hours. Hope everyone had a good Labor Day extended weekend. And look, man, I'm ready. I'm ready for the NFL. I'm ready for football. We had a nice little slate of college games over the weekend. We did pretty well, by the way, with our Q's Pick segment. Not so much for some of the other teams in Florida, but we told you about Miami last weekend, and boom, there we go. So we'll have a little fun with Costco on Friday's show with Nick's picks as well. Lloyd Vance will join us at 3:40, but as always, we encourage you guys to get in on the conversation, 727-858-6650. So this is where we're at right now in the NFL. Tomorrow night, season kicks off. Kansas City, Baltimore. You've got the Philadelphia Eagles. And funny how you had some players come out, and we talked about this last week about Brazil, and now they're backpedaling. They're walking back to comments, what have you. Okay, fine. But right now, Thursday Night Football, Ravens on the road, defending Super Bowl champ Kansas City. At home, obviously, laying 3. And there are so many storylines. And I believe also when we start this NFL season, I think you'll start to see, and it will come very fast and it will come very furious. I believe there's only a handful of really good teams that are in the NFL. And I also believe that there are some really bad, lousy football teams. This might be, and I feel like we say this, and you guys might agree, you might disagree, but I do feel like we say this pretty much, I don't know, every season. What's the word we love to throw out there? Parity. We love to just throw the word parity out there. We just fire it off, right? Just shoot it off like a cannon, fire it off the bow. The NFL is all about parity, which means, hey, hell, my team has an opportunity to do something special this year. My team can rise from the ashes. My team that was a cellar dweller, that was a bottom feeder, that was stuck in the friggin' basement, flooded away, can now have the sun shine on their collective backs, and maybe they win a division. Maybe they get a wild card spot. Maybe they make a deep run in the playoffs. Well, let me pump the brakes for you guys. I got news for you. It ain't happening. It's not happening. I say all of that to say this. You got 4 or 5 really good teams in the NFL. You got 4 or 5 really good teams on the NFL. Now, later in the week, on our BYP Back Your Play pod, I'll give you my predictions, who I think divisional winners. But Lloyd's going to have a little fun with us at 3:40 and give us his thoughts. Look, let's just focus on the NFCs for a moment, and then obviously we'll hit the majority of our listening audience down there in Florida. We'll sprinkle in a little AFC South, Jacksonville. Obviously, we got to mention Tampa, and of course, you got to mention the Miami Dolphins. But I will say this. The NFC East, I think any way you slice it or dice it, it's not a division that is, you just cement the Eagles in there. You just say the Eagles right there, it's for you. I believe Dallas is going to have a down year, but I also feel as though Washington is going to be much better. So maybe by default, we'll sit there and say it's got to be on the Philadelphia Eagles. It's got to be on the Philadelphia Eagles. And look, you can look at all the latest and greatest Super Bowl odds, and we're seeing teams that are trying to sign players, get contracts done, still players are holding out. We know the usual suspects. And I'll give you 4 teams right now. And think about it. 3 of the 4 we're going to see in a 2-night span. Chiefs, the Ravens, the Eagles, and then I'll throw in the 49ers. If you think about this, the Ravens and Eagles are probably going to be plus 1,000, plus 1,300. You got the Chiefs right around plus 500. The 49ers, a little bit of an edge when you talk about, the conference, so to speak, but at plus 600, because I think the AFC West is a tough division. I really do. And I think the 49ers, if they get back to the NFC Championship, get back to the Super Bowl, who's going to be their biggest threat? Well, it's probably going to be the Philadelphia Eagles. Maybe an upstart Green Bay team, right? Or insert another team, the Detroit Lions. But with all that being said, if you believe your team has a shot, that's great. You should as a fan. But if you're looking at the NFC East right now, the Giants are just going to be a bad football team. It pains me to say it. As a Giant fan, it pains me to say it. They're just not going to be a good football team. They have too many question marks. They still have issues with the offensive line. You're banking on Daniel Jones. We already know about their offense. I think their offense is going to, be hit or miss. And they had to go back and sign Adoree Jackson, which tells you where their secondary's at. Then you have Washington, and you have Jaden Daniels, and everyone's high on Washington, changing of the guard, clean out the bad, toxic, yucky, nasty taste that Daniel Snyder left over. And here's a team that decided we got to jettison. We got to part ways with Ron Rivera. Thank you very much. First season in DC, Eric Bieniemy, it doesn't pan out as an OC. They went south. They had that long losing streak to end the season, but yet expectations are high. If you talk to a Commanders fan, I think they're a lot more higher than, say, a Giant fan. And then you have the Dallas Cowboys, and people are, I don't understand where this love fest is with the Dallas Cowboys. What did the Dallas Cowboys do in the offseason? What did they do? They brought back Elliott. They signed CD. The Cowboys are still the Cowboys. The Cowboys will win in July and August. The Cowboys are not going to win in January. So that leaves you with the Philadelphia Eagles, a polarizing lightning rod of a squad, of a team, of a franchise, of a fan base, right? We know about the fan base, obviously. The Eagles, if they were to slip up this year, if they were to trip up, if they were to have a down season, then all bets are off when it comes to the quarterback and the head coach. All bets are off. Now, Devin White is ruled out. So again, right there, you're a little thin at a spot you don't want to be thin at. If you go and you look at the injury report. So now all of a sudden, boom, Friday night kickoff. Here we go. Brazil, Green Bay, Philadelphia Eagles. That's a big loss. That is a big loss. Now, Nakobe Dean was slated to be the starting Mike linebacker. Then they listed Devin White on the injured report. And remember, Dean beat out White in training camp. So we'll see how they figure out what role they're going to implement. But point being is this. You can look at the roster. You can look at the players. You can look at the offense. You can look at the defense. I think the Jason Kelce retirement, I think that's a huge loss. Then you want to sit there and say, well, it washes away. It's a wash because you go out and get Saquon Barkley. That's all well and good. But I'm talking about the offensive line. We know it's one of the best in football, but can they have that cohesiveness, that synergy? We've seen it. And I believe that Jalen Hurts, the Philadelphia Eagles will live and die by the arms, the legs, and the heart and the gumption of Jalen Hurts. Now, can he get along? Can he get along with Nick Sirianni? Can they figure out a way to coexist? I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. I don't know. And I think people are waiting for the other shoe to drop. People are waiting for the Philadelphia Eagles to just implode. I mean, look, hell, I know I am. I think it was an off season where there was a lot of question marks. I think it was an off season where there are a lot of questions. And are they going to be answered? I mean, how far can this team really go? Are the 49ers better than the Philadelphia Eagles? Upstart Green Bay better than the Philadelphia Eagles? Tampa Bay better than the Eagles. Detroit better than the Eagles. The Rams better than the Eagles. I would say the 49ers and Eagles are 1 and 2. Detroit's on the rise. We know about Green Bay. They're surging. Then you got 4 teams right there. But they can really set the tone for the start of their season by coming out of the gate on Friday night and beating an upstart Packers team. This reminds me years ago when the Eagles were, and this is many, many moons ago, on the rise, early 2000s, and the Giants basically waxed them. I think it was like 31-10, 31-13. And the Giants went on and they won the NFC Championship. They got blasted by Baltimore in the Super Bowl, but the Eagles were just not ready. And maybe that's the case with Green Bay. Maybe the Eagles turn around and remind everyone, hold on, slow it down a little bit with Green Bay. You know, us, the 49ers, we're still the teams to beat in the NFC. But it's going to be a fascinating start to the season. And then conversely, when you look at the teams in Florida and the AFC East, everyone is just drinking the Jets juice. They're just, for some reason, coming out and saying the Jets are going to get it done. The Jets are going to the Super Bowl. The Jets are going to be the top seed. The Jets are going to win the Super Bowl, something they haven't done since '69. And Joe Willie and the guarantee, 16.5-point dogs to the Colts. I'm not seeing it. I'm not buying it. Because you still need a head coach to coach in the NFL. And I don't trust Robert Saleh. And you still need a quarterback to be upright and healthy. And I don't trust Aaron Rodgers. I don't trust Aaron Rodgers at this age. I don't. Coming off that injury at 40 years of age. I look at Buffalo. You already know where I stand with Buffalo. I've said it many times on the air. I think Miami is the team to beat coming out of the AFC East. And then as far as Tampa and Jacksonville, I'll give you my thoughts on those squads too as the show progresses. But we are inching closer and closer to the NFL, and everyone believes their team has a legitimate shot, and I'm here to tell you that's not the case. I know we can sit there and say sometimes you'll get a team that goes from worst to first, middle of the road, middle of the pack. Hey, who am I going to play a surprise? Is it like last year in baseball, the Diamondbacks making a great run? Is it Detroit making a great run? If you listen to me last year on BYP on my YouTube channel, Rich Q and Q, we pegged Detroit to go deep in the playoffs. We had Detroit win a division. We had Detroit on the road beating Kansas City. And I love the Chiefs tomorrow night, by the way. Laying a 3 at home. I really do. Speaking of the Chiefs, you know, the distractions now that we love to talk about coming out. We already joke that the NFL is scripted, do we not? Now you have all these reports coming out that Travis and, Taylor Swift and the Swifties, and here we go. It's been a fake relationship, and Travis Kelce had a lawyer up over the viral Taylor Swift breakup, and look what she did for the NFL. And oh my goodness, all the Swifties, all the female fans in the NFL making them billions and billions, and now all of a sudden they're going to break up. It's a breakup plan, and this is what we told you. And is it 100%? Who cares? Who cares? I don't. I think it's comical at this point. Job well done, NFL. Job well done, Travis Kelce. Job well done, Taylor Swift. I mean, Travis Kelce, think about that. You get all these endorsements, you get all these marketing deals, and you turn around and you and your brother sign a $100 million deal. With who was it? Spotify? Whoever it was. Spotify, Amazon, whatever the providers. Boom. So whether it is a, farce or fallacy, it doesn't matter. He wanted to do what he wanted to do, and the NFL got what they got. They got what they got. They got the eyeballs, and that's all that matters. So you got a couple things cooking right now in the NFL. You got a couple things cooking. You've got a situation where the 49ers, again, a team that a lot of people believe if or when they're healthy, they're ready to go. They're clearly the team to beat in the NFC, right? They're getting their deals done. Fine. You got the situation in New York with Hassan Reddick, which, by the way, somebody needs to just pull this kid to the side and just remind him how much money he is losing every day. I don't see how in the world he's going to play on Monday night. I just don't. I really don't. And you also have it from a gambling standpoint where the New York Jets, if you think about it from a gambling standpoint, the New York Jets are a bettor's haven right now. They are, again, people love them. People are loving this team to win the AFC East. And if you look at some of the boards right now, plus 160 to win the AFC East, ahead of the Bills, plus 185. The Dolphins sit at plus 225. I'm still leaning towards the Dolphins. The Patriots, you know they're going to be a horrible team. You might hammer the win total, the under, at plus 2,500. But if this is the Aaron Rodgers effect, you're attracting 58% of the handle. I think ESPN bet 67% at BetGM. DraftKings right around 43, 44. So everyone is looking at the New York Jets, and you're looking at them from two standpoints. We're going to ride this team. We think they're going to be very good, and we also think they're going to be profitable. So remember now, they open up the season on the road against San Francisco, then Tennessee. Then they have 4 straight home games: New England, Denver, Minnesota, Buffalo. If they're 4-2, 5-1, if they beat San Fran on Monday night, there's going to be buzz. If they're 2-3, 3-2, there's not going to be a lot of buzz. So just be careful how you approach the Jets early on in the season. I think that could be said for a couple other teams: Houston Texans, Green Bay Packers, Dallas Cowboys. Teams that we automatically think are going to be good teams poised to make some deep runs in the playoffs. But the holdouts, absolutely, in the NFL, they got to kill you. They got to kill you. They got to kill you. The holdouts are just, they're just brutal, man. They're just flat out brutal. NFL, these 5 or 6 teams that we talk about ad nauseum, it's always going to come down to the quarterback play. I don't care what anyone tells me. It's all going to come down to the quarterback play. And I think there are some teams out there already that are thinking about next year, as crazy as it sounds. I mean, I got to listen to Joe Shane with stuff leaked on Hard Knocks, and here you go. And hey, it must be nice not having to look for a quarterback or scout a quarterback. I mean, it's pretty evident. It's pretty clear. The New York Giants and the Brass want nothing to do with Daniel Jones. And for that reason alone, as much as I'm not the biggest Daniel Jones fan, from a football standpoint, I think he's a good kid. I think he's a nice kid. I think he's a smart kid. And yes, I think he's talented. He's frustrating as hell. But for that reason alone, for that nonsense getting leaked, where you got Daboll rolling his eyes and Joe Shane saying what he's saying, and all the detractors, I hope Daniel Jones goes out and lights the world on fire. I hope Daniel Jones balls out this year. I do. I hope he puts up ridiculous, gaudy numbers. Now, if you listen to me for the past several years talk about Daniel Jones, those gaudy numbers should be what? Over 4,000 yards, 25 to 30 plus touchdowns, 6 picks, 700 yards rushing, and maybe 4 or 5 touchdowns with his legs. Is that doable? You would think. But it's pretty apparent that the Brass is over Daniel Jones. We haven't even had week 1 yet. So I'm so over this nonsense with Daniel Jones. Whatever you're going to do with the kid, do with the kid. However it plays out, it plays out. They're not going to be a good team. They're just not. So let's just pencil them. Let's cross them off the list. And I can give you probably 10 or 15 more teams like that. You got 5 or 6 really good teams in the NFL. Once in a while, you will get a team that flies under the radar. And I'll give you one right now. I feel as though everyone is not talking about the Arizona Cardinals. And I believe this is a team that potentially can make a little bit of noise. And I think they're going to be able to put up some points, which again can be profitable for you, depending upon what side of the fence you lay your hat in, especially if you want to play some of these overs. But I'm looking at the NFC right now, guys. San Fran, Arizona, NFC South by default, maybe Tampa. NFC North, everyone's waiting for Williams. Here we go, rookie, have fun with it. Detroit and Green Bay is a very good team. And then you got the NFC East. The Eagles, maybe Washington climbs the ladder a little bit. They're not juggernauts besides maybe San Francisco and the Eagles, only because of the body of work The AFC is where it's at. It's stacked. It is absolutely stacked. And tomorrow night begins the quest for the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, think about what they're trying to accomplish in the NFL, in the annals of the NFL. I mean, go back. No NFL team has ever three-peated in the Super Bowl era. So that's 1966 to the present. Now, the Packers did three-peat. They won the final NFC championship, NFL championship, in 1965. And then, obviously, they went on and they won Super Bowl I, and they won Super Bowl II. So, again, you want to meet me halfway, right church, wrong pew, you got the Packers. But can you imagine the pressure that will be on Kansas City? Or are they playing with house money? I mean, you're talking about uncharted territory. You're talking about a head coach that's already cemented his legacy, a head coach that's going to be in the Hall of Fame, a head coach that people forget they ran him out of town with the Philadelphia Eagles. They ran it. They couldn't wait to get rid of Andy Reid. Eagles fans were done. They were over Andy Reid. And yet, Andy Reid wasn't the one throwing 3 picks to Ricky Manning Jr. against Carolina. He wasn't the one throwing the pick 6 to Barber running back the other way. He wasn't the one that wasn't doing the hurry-up offense. Now, we can blame him for certain things. Point being is, when you look back at Andy Reid's tenure with the Philadelphia Eagles, and now you look what he's doing with Kansas City, he's a hell of a coach. So Kansas City's, I think the bullseye's on their back. I think, obviously, they are the hunted. You usually are when you win a championship, when you win a title. But, man, every week, you're going to be watching Kansas City. Because we know they're a playoff team. I think they might struggle at times this year. I think the division's much better. But it's all about getting to January healthy. That's it. If you're Kansas City, because once you get in there and you roll the dice, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. 727-858-6650. Just cranking up on a Wednesday edition of The Drive with Q. Rich Quinones here. Angel Martinez behind the glass. Lloyd Vance will jump on in about 10 or so. We'll hit up your text messages, your calls, your emails, your Facebook comments, whatever the hell you guys want it. Hello there, Mickey. Good to see you there. Goofball, go back to sleep. I know it's nap time for you. Andy Reid wore out his time in Philly. Clock management issues, etc. Needed a restart to learn from mistakes, and it's panned out for him, Jovan. Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. Question for Kansas City, who steps up? CB2 without Snead. Yeah, listen, they're going to have some issues. They're going to have some issues, Kansas City, but they're still going to be a juggernaut. I think the AFC West, to your point, Jovan, is going to be a lot more difficult and a lot more competitive. So we'll get into that as well. And for those that are taking their afternoon naps like Mickey, drinking his Ensure, 3:30 on a Wednesday edition of The Drive right here on Sports Radio 102.9 FM. The Game, part of the Coastal Sports Network, powered by Ion TV from our good friends over at Play It Again Sports. We'll open it up 727-858-6650. We'll take you up to 5 o'clock straight up. Lloyd Vance in about 10 minutes.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontb.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Don't forget to get social with us. Follow Q at RichQ on Q. And now, back to Q.
All right, 727-858-6650. That'll get you involved on a Wednesday edition of The Drive. A couple guys chiming in already on the Giants. Yeah, I'm pretty much, as I said, I really don't know what more. I'm done, right? It's the Daniel Jones hate and the nonsense. It is what it is at this point. The brass does not want this kid. Then, you know what? Go out and ball out. That's it. That's it. Why are you letting certain things leak out before the season starts? Utter nonsense. You know, I'm listening to other people, and that's my problem. I don't know why I'm listening to some of these other talking heads talk about the Giants, who have absolutely no clue what the hell's going on with this team or this franchise. But they're basically saying that Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll are safe. They're not. What makes somebody believe that those two aren't on the hot seat? It's utterly ridiculous that you guys or some Giant fans, I can say the same thing about Robert Saleh in New York and Douglas. Come on, man. I can say the same thing. Why? Because the beat writers are telling you something different. That's why they're pushing their narrative. You mean to tell me that the friggin' Philadelphia Eagles go 6-11 and Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni are, go barking at each other? Or Brown's not getting his touches, Smith's pissed off, Saquon's being underutilized, the offensive line collapses and it caves in? You mean to tell me that all bets aren't off, that Nick Sirianni's not going to be on the hot seat? This is the NFL. This is the NFL. You have a shelf life. I think Jovan hit it before with one of his comments, right? Talking about the clock management. To some extent, yes. But also, it was also player personnel, and it was also the Eagles not coming up with big-time efforts in the clutch. I don't need my GM to come out basically again, talking about you go to this cameo and we're talking about Hard Knocks and, going to Ryan Poles, the GM of the Bears. Got to be nice not to be scouting a quarterback or quarterbacks. Are you freaking kidding me? Are you kidding me? I got to hear my GM say that after you're a year plus removed from paying this kid $160 million, $40 million guaranteed, and saying he's the quarterback of the future, and then he goes out and gets hurt, and we already know you were trying to trade down and you were looking at other quarterbacks. Worst kept secret in the NFL. Worst kept secret in the NFL. You're going to come out and say that? I mean, either you're playing in the camera, you know what the hell you're doing, or you're a jackass. Can you imagine Howie Roseman doing that in Philadelphia? Oh my God. Imagine that for a moment. Oh man, phew, must be nice. You don't have to scout quarterbacks. Must be nice. I do not want to hear that from my GM, whether you're playing to the camera or not. I don't. It just shows again how clueless this brass is. It really does. It really does. Now, talk to me the first time on Sunday when Daniel Jones or the Giants offense have 3 and outs and they keep cutting away to Brian Daboll and he's pissed off because Jones missed a read. I mean, I'm just wondering, how long is it going to take? I mean, you guys want to bet it right now? You want to put a total for it? Let's do that. Let's have a little fun, right? Think about this. How long do you think it's going to take before the offense goes a couple 3 and outs and all of a sudden Twitterverse, Facebookverse, whatever, the talking heads, they're going to sit there and say, it's time to sit this kid after a couple series in the first quarter. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's utterly ridiculous. You do not want something like that to leak out. You don't. You don't. It's a horrible look, man. It's a horrible look. And by the way, it's not like you drafted really well. Okay? So let's, again, everyone wants to have these pressure points. Everyone wants to put certain passes on certain guys. They want to put passes on certain GMs. They want to put passes. You get a free hall pass. You get a day off. Here's your doctor's note with some of these head coaches. I'm not doing it. I am very confident in saying right now, there's 3 head coaches in the NFC East that need to get their head out of their you-know-what. One of them is Mike McCarthy. The other is Nick Sirianni. And the other is Brian Daboll. You can make a case for and against these guys if things go south. And we believe 2 out of the 3 teams are going to have difficult seasons in Dallas and the Giants. They're going to be out of a job. Got to have my GM sit there, go to another GM. Got to be nice not to be scouting quarterbacks. Like, really? I mean, that is just a clown comment, man. Oh, he's one of us. He eats peanut butter and jelly driving to work. Shut the frig up with this nonsense. Go win some football games, can you? Can you go win some football games? I mean, imagine that slop that you're going to see on Sunday. Imagine that. You got the Giants at home, 1 o'clock. At home, 1 o'clock. At that stadium, when they've scored 3 points heading into the locker room, and the boo birds are going to come out because that's what they typically do. I mean, it's so bad that the fact that you are a 2-point home dog, you are a 2-point underdog to start the season at home. And by the way, don't mock and laugh at me because I can give you a couple other friggin' teams. And we have a bunch of fans that listen in that are pretty much in the same boat. And I don't want to nitpick with you Boston fans. I don't want to get on you with New England. But if Cincinnati is worth their salt, they go out and put up 40 against the Patriots, who are getting 9 on the road. Bad football team. Bad football team. But I just don't need my GM coming out and saying, I just don't. I don't want to hear it from my GM. I don't need that nonsense. I really don't. It's just a bad look. You're talking about leadership skills or lack thereof. Jeez Louise. That's just a bad look, man. Bad look. B on Facebook chimes in. Q, loving the Giants rant. You mentioned Hassan Reddick losing a lot of money. Do you think they're going to be able to get a deal done? I'm a Jets fan. B, appreciate it. I couldn't answer that. I think it's a bad look at this point if you're Hassan Reddick. I mean, just get your fanny. Get your fanny in camp, man. Get your fanny ready for the regular season. You have to. You don't want a distraction like that. You brought him over to shore up your defense. Did you not? Like, look at some of the moves these teams made in the offseason. And you can tell what teams are trying to run it back and what teams are trying to make a run and which teams are pretty much waving the white flag already. They know they're not going to be a good football team. The Jets have some nice pieces in place. They do. I mean, I would be lying if I said they weren't very deep, right? And there's going to be on pressure for that team to win. I mean, if you really think about it, the Jets and Aaron Rodgers' return, probably one of the biggest storylines in 2024 in the NFL season. How can it not be? I mean, the guy pretty missed. He missed a whole year. But their roster's deep. You got Aaron Rodgers coming back, 20th season. Obviously, if he's 100%, we know what he can do. You got Bryce Hall, big time back. You added in a couple players, Isaiah Davis, rookie, I think in round 5. We know about Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard, and we know about the tight end. We know about the defense. They're going to be good. And I think the AFC East is going to be one of the better divisions in football. But I still don't like the Jets because of their head coach. And my fear is that one hit from Aaron Rodgers. And you never want to see a player go down. But Aaron Rodgers, the Jets will be a heavily bet squad to come out of the AFC, to win the AFC East, to make a deep run into the playoffs. Absolutely. So there's going to be pressure on Aaron Rodgers. There's going to be a pressure on Robert Saleh. And I just gave the 2 New York teams, those head coaches and their GMs, they're on the hot seat. Dallas Cowboy fans, I got news for you. Mike McCarthy, Dak Prescott, you're on the hot seat. Clock's ticking. It's ticking. You know, you get a pass when you have a rookie quarterback. You're going to get a pass in Chicago. We know that. You're obviously going to get a pass in Houston because of what transpired last year. Stroud burst on the scene. DeMeco Ryans looks like he's a very good head coach. Probably going to get a pass to some extent with the Raiders and Antonio Pierce because you got to name the quarterback. And we think we know who's going to be the quarterback. By the way, Phil's 3-2, top of the second over Toronto. They won 3 straight, by the way. You're going to get a pass in Denver. Sean Payton, Bo Nix. Indianapolis will get a pass. Anthony Richardson, still a young quarterback. Washington's going to get a pass. Jaden Daniels. There are some teams that will get passes. Some head coaches will live to fight another day because of their circumstances, because the cupboard was left bare. I'm not so sure in Pittsburgh just yet with Mike Tomlin. I'm not. I'm really not. I'm not so sure just yet in Buffalo with McDermott or New York with Saleh. Or as I mentioned, the Giants in Dallas, the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, these guys have had time to work. Like, you can't use the excuse anymore. Wow, the offensive line, we didn't draft well. The guy's always hurt. Hey, man, that's the NFL. You got to deal with that. You got to deal with that. College, not so much. The NFL, yeah. And there are teams right now, they're going to feel it. They are going to feel it. And I'm telling you, the Chiefs are definitely the betting favorites. But a team like the Packers, the Detroit Lions, they will attract the bettors. They will. You mark my words on that. Because a couple years ago, was everyone jumping on the Rams in Cincinnati. Now, the most popular teams, as I mentioned, that the bettors like will be your Ravens, your Kansas City, your Green Bay, your Lions. The Lions are pretty much the public darling. Dan Campbell, we're biting kneecaps. Here we go. Plus 1,000. Saw some books. There's going to be a liability taking about 15, 16% of the handle. And then you have some teams like Cincinnati, the Eagles, and Baltimore. So if you look at those teams, they're going to crack the top 3, 4, 5 by bets in various sports books. San Francisco has really not taken a ton of action thus far across the marketplace. But they got the third most handle at BetMGM. I double-checked, the 9.4. So, and by the way, we're going to work in our guy, Professor Shine, on my Back Your Play podcast. He's going to join us again with a lot of picks and plays as well. So we'll have a lot of getting into and breaking down some of these odds, 727-858-6650. But the point is that as we kind of recap the first 40 or so minutes, hour number one on The Drive with Q, Rich Quinones here, Angel Martinez behind the glass, it's only 5 or 6 teams, man. That's it. It's only 5 or 6 teams. You'll get your nice stories. You'll get some of these teams that are going to make a surprise run, but then they're going to get humbled. They're going to come back down to reality because that's what typically happens. Imagine being a Patriots fan. And you guys have heard me said this, not to pile on the Patriots, but you got a head coach coming out talking about the quarterbacks. You got a covered as bear. You got a bad roster. You trade off your best defensive player, and you got a coaching staff that you're probably not confident with. Guess one guy chimes in, "What's your take on the Bucs?" I think they're going to be a player in the division. Question is, can Baker Mayfield duplicate the success from last season? We're going to go through the gamut on the other side. Lloyd Vance is hanging tight in the Q room. He's going to join us. We will get his thoughts on divisional winners. I reserve the right to hold out on my predictions. Why? Because A, it's my show, and B, I can hear the laughter already. I reserve the right, and B, hold on a second now, the both of you two clowns, you two knuckleheads, and B, because I haven't decided what direction I'm going just yet. And I have technically up until 8 o'clock tomorrow, kickoff time, Eastern time. So the both of you get off my backs. 342. We'll open up 727-858-6650. Keep it locked in. A lot of eyeballs watching us on X. We always appreciate it. Lloyd Vance's going to jump on the other side.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all of these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Awesome. Where were you, Jill?
Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Call or text the show at 727-858-6650. Now, back to Q.
Like I need any more caffeine. Already, he's smiling. He's already smiling. He's ready to go. 3:45 on a Wednesday edition of The Drive with Q. Rich Quinones here. Angel Martinez behind the glass. We are powered by our good friends over at SR 102.9 FM. The Game. Play It Again Sports. Don't forget, Labor Day has come and gone, but you still get all your specials. They'll treat you right. Used and new sports equipment and more. 1450 Clements Bridge Road in Deptford, New Jersey. And with that, we welcome in the man that has many degrees behind the wall. Lloyd Vance, host of Lloyd Vance's Insider Football. You hear him every Monday at 8. And, of course, you'll catch him on The Drive. You'll catch him on BYP. We'll bang out a new episode either tonight or tomorrow right before kickoff 2024. And as I mentioned, yes, I reserve the right to hold off my you know why? Because I don't have a 100% feel. I will say this. I don't know if you caught the beginning of the show, but I mentioned there's probably 5 or 6 really good teams. But we'll get into that. As always, we welcome in our good friend Lloyd. How are you, my friend?
Doing good. I guess you're like Kojak. You got to keep doing your investigation, but the bill's going to come due, man. You got to make your picks and stick with them, and we're going to make sure Angel records this.
No.
And, we're going to bring it all up, man.
Listen, it will be there. That's why we also do BYP. I back my play. You need to stop it. I'm not Columbo. I'm going to walk out the door and turn around and say one more question. We'll fire off the NFC East last. Let's just run through the gamut. Give me a synopsis. We'll throw out the division. You just give me your winners, right? And it's just like the thinking behind it. It's almost like a tradition of the Masters. We do this every year. But we'll go with the NFC West to lead things off.
Well, the West is going to be interesting, Q, because everybody is still jumping on the Niners, but 5 of the last teams that have lost the Super Bowl have not even made it back to the playoffs. So, there's some difficulty next season, and I just think they're going to have some. And they've already had some injury issues. Yes, they got Trent Williams back in the door. They got Ayuk in the door. But you have McCaffrey already hurting with that calf injury. I actually went with the LA Rams. I just think because they're a young team and outside their quarterback. And I think Stafford is better than a lot of people think. And him and McVay are on the same page. I like what that defense is doing in terms of the young players they're bringing in. And then they have Kyron Williams and a bunch of, Cooper Kupp, Nakua. They have a bunch of weapons, and their offensive line's gotten better. So I think they're going to be a team to be reckoned with, and I think they can win that division.
You still have San Francisco being a playoff team, do you not? I mean, right now they're minus 225 to win the division. The Rams pretty profitable, plus 450. So the Niners make or miss the playoffs.
Right now, I have them missing the playoffs, and it's because the other night on my show it was a big debate, and they were like, oh. You can't go with, and I went with the Commanders as the last team to make the playoffs. Okay. And I kind of, when I did that, I scratched out the Niners. I just think the Niners are going to have a tough season. It'll probably come back to bite me in the butt. You and I, for years, we've been doing this prediction thing, and then it's crazy. Last year, it actually worked out. I said KC in the Super Bowl over the Niners, but, more often than not, I'm wrong.
Hey, listen, and we are both there. Remember, I had the Detroit Lions making a run, and I still believe they will make a run. NFC South, we just had a couple guys comment on the NFC South. Tampa Bay, the Saints, the Panthers, the Falcons. We know the Panthers are a young team. We know the Falcons certainly in transition. The Saints, again, quarterback play. And then you got Tampa Bay, right? I mean, can Baker Mayfield duplicate his success from last season? Now, I think that division, this is just me now, I think 9 wins is probably going to get you the division. So I'm looking right now, the Falcons are minus 140, Tampa's plus 300, Saints are plus 650, and then the Panthers are a whopping plus 1,100. What's your thoughts on that division?
Yeah, this is going to be a tight division, as you said, Q. The last 2 seasons, Tampa's won this division. They won it with 8 wins last year with 9 wins. And at that 9 wins, they were actually tied with the Saints, and it came down to tiebreakers. So when I look at these teams top to bottom, obviously this division has a lot to be desired for. I just think the Falcons, in terms of what they've done in this offseason, Raheem Moore taking over the reins, he gives Zach Robinson the keys to the offense. And Kirk Cousins is a very good regular season quarterback. He seems to be healthy coming back from that Achilles injury. And then he has all those weapons work with Drake London, Bijan Robinson, and Kyle Pitts should have a rebound. So they work with that offensive line. Matthews has gotten better. I like what they've done with the defense, bringing in Judon to go with Jesse Bates and the rest of those guys there. I just think it's their time to kind of win this division. And Tampa Bay still will be in the mix, but I'm just not sure if Baker Mayfield can duplicate what he's done They have brought a lot of people back, like Antoine Winfield, but I just think the last 2 seasons they've kind of backed into that division title, and I think this year it's going to be the Falcons that take it. Obviously, we know Carolina. They're probably going to have a tough season, and I think the Saints take a step back as well with Dennis Allen, a coach kind of stuck in neutral.
And that can be a coach too. That's going to be out of a job as well. Lloyd Vance, kind enough to join us Wednesday edition of The Drive. Man, the Falcons, we're kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop here. We talked a lot about this on Back Your Play, talking about their win total, hammering the under. What are you going to get out of Cousins? Look where they open up the season. Pittsburgh, Philly, and the Chiefs. I mean, 1-2 start. Maybe they slide a little bit. Question is if or when we're going to see Penix. Again, your guess is as good as mine. So just to reiterate, you've got the Rams out of the NFC West. We already know you picked the Commanders coming out of the East. And then the South, you have one or two teams. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the South, I have the Falcons as the only team that's coming out of there in terms of the playoffs.
All right. Look, the dog wanted some airtime too. We don't know who the dog wants. All right, NFC. Look at that, just a button into my business right there. There she goes, Kiki, button into my business. Get down, mommy. Get down, mommy. NFC South. This dog, I tell you, this dog is so trained. Good. You give me your NFC North rundown, and let me just skedaddle her off my desk. Go ahead.
Sure. Now, when I look at the North, this division, last year the AFC North had 3 teams that kind of made the playoffs, and I'm kind of looking at the same thing for this division. I think the NFC North is going to be very good division, and it's going to be competitive. But top to bottom, I have to go with the Detroit Lions in the top spot. I think as long as Aaron Glenn can fix up that defense a little bit, they brought rookies in like Teron Arnold and a bunch of other free agents to go with Hutchinson to kind of shore that defense up. And then offensively, I think Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown are going to have, and Laporte are going to have a great season. So I think the Lions win this division, but in a surprise, I think Chicago, Caleb Williams, a lot of people are down on him, but maybe I'm drinking a Hard Knocks Kool-Aid, but I think this group, I think they could sneak in, maybe get that.
That means you got 3 teams coming out. There's no way you're not going to.
And I got Green Bay coming out as well. Green Bay, Jordan Love, last year you saw in that end of the season run where he was just incredible. 18 touchdowns, only 1 interception down the stretch, and the team played very well in the playoffs. I think the Packers will pick up where they left off. They're going to be close to the Lions, but I think they finished in the second spot. But you're correct. I have 3 teams coming out of the NFC North in the playoffs.
I don't believe Chicago is a playoff team. And I'll give you my reasoning behind that. Sure. I'm not as sold as, say, you are on the GM and the head coach. Now, he's going to get a pass because he's going to have a rookie quarterback. I know everyone is high on the quarterback. I know they went out. They tried to fix the running game. They got a receiver that let's get into the receiver position for a moment. I mean, if you look at their depth chart right now, Allen looks like what? He put on, I don't know. He's got discomfort already, foot discomfort. I think he put on a couple of pounds. You got DJ Moore, inconsistent. You got DeAndre Swift, underutilized with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think this kid's going to have some growing pains. Listen, I think there'll be a fun story to watch because the NFL is better when the Bears are good. I just don't subscribe to the Bears, but I do agree with the Lions and Green Bay, which basically leaves you with one team because you already mentioned the Commanders. You already allowed us to open up that one gift on Christmas Eve. You gave us the Commanders. So there's really no, no drama left in that. Yeah. So then who do you have winning the NFC East?
I definitely have Philadelphia Eagles winning the NFC East. I think in terms of when you look roster for roster with the other teams out there, that they're just top to bottom better now. The key thing's obviously going to be that defense. They bought in Frangio to clean that group up. They have a lot of draft picks in there. Already Devin White's not going to play in the game tomorrow on Friday. So, there may be some exposure there, but I just think Dallas is going to take a step back this season because they just have not done enough this offseason, and there's a lot of ambiguity around a roster. And McCarthy, is he going to make it to next season? And I think the Eagles win this division. And then Yeah, I'm probably crazy going with 2 rookie quarterbacks making the playoffs in the NFC, but I think Washington with Jaden Daniels, I think he's just going to bring that excitement to them. Yes, they need some other guys to step up, and their offensive line's a little bit older, but I think they could sneak in and battle for that last spot, that wild card spot. So I have the Eagles in Washington coming out of the NFC East into the playoffs.
I think Washington's going to be a vastly improved team. I think the Eagles will win the division by default, but I think the Eagles have some issues, and I know people might be listening. Well, what are they? Listen, I think the Kelsey retirement, I think that's a big loss. I still think there is some type of disconnect between Hurts and Sirianni. I also think if this team struggles and they have a stretch where they drop 2 or 3, 3 and 4, they're going to be clamoring for Sirianni's head. You already brought in an offensive and defensive coordinator who have had head coaching experience. We know about the secondary and some of their issues. I don't know what you're going to get from Saquon. Maybe there's too many toys to play with and you don't have enough hours in the day. I don't know. But by default, Dallas and the Giants will be bad teams. So you got your NFC components right there. All right, AFC East, very tough division, even when you look at it from an odds standpoint. You know, where am I going to lay my hat, right? Am I going to go with Miami and Tua in the big contract, Buffalo, the window closing, Aaron Rodgers to return? Let's discount the Pats. We know they're going to be a really bad football team. Hammer the win total when it comes to the under for the Patriots. I can't find a game they're going to be favored in, but that's another story for another day. So who do you like coming out of the AFC East?
Yes, it's going to be a competitive division, as you said, Q. And basically the odd team out, I think, is going to be Miami in terms of who makes the playoffs. Now, I think I went with the Bills kind of as default, as you were talking about it. The Bills have won this division 4 straight seasons. They have the best quarterback in this division. As long as they can have Cook step up and Keon Coleman and some of these new weapons for them, I think they'll be okay. McDermott's got some work to do in terms of that defense, but I think the Bills can win this division. Last season, it took 11 wins. I think they can get there to that spot. And then in the second spot, I have to go with the Jets. I think the Jets, they have that urgency around them with Aaron Rodgers coming back. As long as he's healthy, they have put some pieces in place. They do have to have Morgan Moses and Tyron Smith on the offensive line gel. We know about that defense with Sauce Gardner and the Williams brothers, how they can get after people. So I think the Jets will push the Bills, but I think the Bills will win the division and the Jets will get one of the wild card spots.
Not too high on the Jets. I gave you my pros and cons. I do not like the fact that you said the Dolphins missed the playoffs. Is this a product of the division being too competitive, their schedule, or you're not 100% sold on the quarterback? Because that's the only rationale I can find in this argument. I mean, they put up numbers. Obviously, you know, when you have to go on the road in Kansas City, that's always a tough out. They screwed themselves last year. They couldn't contain Josh Allen late on that Sunday night game, which forced them then to go to Kansas City on the road where their offense couldn't do anything. They weren't 100% when you talk about the ground attack. I think this team's going to score 30-something plus points a game.
Well, I think every season's kind of different. And the big thing is you have Chen who you know, you don't know how many touches he can handle because he's a smallish back. You have Mostert, who's going to be 32 years old this season. Yes, they did bring in Wright, the young running back in the draft, and we'll see what he does. And you have Tariq. Waddle's already a little banged up. They don't really use their tight end. Offensive line has been a little banged up the last couple of years. Armstead, we'll see what he brings to the table this season. Yes, Tua's gotten a big contract, but I just don't know if he's going to be able to live up to it. You're right, ton of weapons, but there's no way they can hang 70 on teams like they did last year and lead the NFL in scoring. We saw at the end of the season, kind of they fell apart, and I think they just haven't done enough, especially with the defense. Yes, Phillips is coming back from that Achilles injury. I like Holland and Ramsey in the secondary, but I just don't know if that defense is going to hold up, and obviously they lost Fangio, so I think Miami misses out on the playoffs, and I will go with the Bills and the Jets out of this division.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't trust Robert Saleh, and I don't trust Aaron Rodgers' health at 40, even though they have very good players on both sides of the ball. And who knows what the hell's going to happen with Hassan Reddick, if that's going to be a issue or not. I mean, you got 2 head coaches right there, McDermott and Saleh, that there's a lot of pressure on them to not only win a division, but get to the playoffs. I think the Jets are fool's gold. That's just me. AFC West, again, young quarterbacks, Denver. Everyone's looking at Peyton in Denver. You got Kansas City. You got the Chargers and Harbaugh. And then, of course, you have the Raiders and Antonio Pierce.
Yeah, in the AFC West, I only have one team coming out of there. That's the Chiefs. And I think the Chiefs are pretty bit of favorite to win this division. Just so much talent assembled. As long as Bolton's and the rest of that defense is healthy, I think Spagnuolo is going to put them in good spots with McDuffie and the rest of that group. Obviously, when you have number 15, Patrick Mahomes on offense and all the pieces they brought together for him, particularly I think Pacheco is going to have a good season running the football. Offensive line Q is going to be a little interesting. They do have a rookie starting at left tackle, but then you have Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey in the middle, two of the best in the business. So I think they're going to put up a lot of points. Their schedule's tough, though. So, and it starts right with Baltimore right away. So, but I think the Chiefs win this division. Getting the other teams, the Raiders, I think Antonio Pierce, nice story, got the job. I just can't see Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell, whoever's at quarterback, winning a lot of games for them. Denver, Bo Nix, we'll see how he does. That offensive line is very shaky. He is going to have to get the ball out of his hands very quickly. That's his specialty. We'll see if Peyton survives, as you said, on the hot seat already. And then the Chargers with Harbaugh, they're trying to do Baltimore Ravens West, but they've already had so many injuries just coming into the season. You just wonder, is Herbert going to be fully ready? J.K. Dobbins, is he ready to roll? Gus Edwards. They lose Williams and a lot of other pieces in terms of the receiver position. So a lot of pieces in flux for the Chargers. I think they'll be better, but I don't see them making playoffs.
16 to Bucks, 4 o'clock, straight up. This is Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game, part of the Coastal Sports Network. The Drive with Q. Rich Quinones here. Lloyd Vance, kind enough to join us. Angel Martinez behind the glass, producing the show, keeping us on the air. Just a quick baseball update. Harper left the Phils game. They're leading Toronto 3-2. Top of the fourth, left with a issue with his elbow. Looks like elbow contusion, so we'll kind of monitor that as well. Probably rest him for a couple games. All right, so you like one coming out of the West. The AFC South, not the most appealing division, not the most sexiest division, but you have some very interesting, I guess you can say, storylines with the South. Jacksonville, Lawrence getting paid. The Titans are kind of like the redheaded stepchild. You got Houston on the rise, and then Indianapolis with Anthony Richardson. And it's crazy to think that Richardson, from high school to college to the pros, 17 starts, which is absolutely crazy. Who do you like coming out of the South?
It's going to be a competitive division, but when I look at it, I see only one team coming out of it. And right now, I'd have to say the Houston Texans at the top of the house. Obviously, the receiver position is just loaded for them with Tank Dell and Nico Collins and bringing over Diggs. I think it's going to be big. And don't forget about Joe Mixon. That offensive line is a very good mauling group up front. C.J. Stroud, I think he is sent. And then that defense is one of the best in the league under DeMeco Ryans. So I think Houston wins this division. I'm not going to say easily, but they should be out in front. Jacksonville, I think the heat's going to be turned up on them because you have Trevor Lawrence. They got that big contract. Is Doug Peterson still the same guy that won that Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles, or they need to do some more tinkering with this on the defensive side in particular, and then Christian Kirk offensively and the rest of the guys there. The Colts are going to be fun because Richardson, is he fully healthy from that shoulder injury? I just worry, Q, that he's going to be like a Cam Newton type, that he runs too much, he takes too many hits, and then where do they go from there? Yes, they signed Flacco to be his backup, and they have Jonathan Taylor and Pittman to lean on. But already they've had some injuries as well. So I think the Colts will be competitive, but they won't win the division. And you talk about the Titans. We'll see what their new head coach brings to the table. Will Levis, their quarterback, obviously question marks there. And then they lose Derrick Henry. So I think the Titans, Jacksonville, Colts will beat each other up, but the Texans will be the only team to come out of this division in playoffs.
So that would leave us 1, 2, 3, 4. So you got, wow. So it's pretty much, let's just cut to the chase. Pittsburgh will not be making the playoffs. So Cleveland, Baltimore, and Cincinnati coming out of the North.
I like this. You and I are disagreeing a lot. So AFC North is going to be this is going to be a fun division. I think it's going to be competitive. Last year, 4 teams have winning records, first time since like 1935 in NFL. I think the champion of this division, I'll go with the Bengals. I just think Joe Burrow is ready for a bounce back now. A key caveat, obviously, is Jamar Chase. They got to get that contract situation settled, get him in the house, and then they can move on from there. And defensively, with Hendrickson, and they can get after people. So I'm going to go with the Bengals to win the division. I think the Ravens will take a mini step back. Last year, they won the division with 13 wins, and they were the AFC's number 1 seed. But I think they make the playoffs, but they won't win it. But Lamar Jackson's got to step up. Obviously, it's playoffs or bust for them. They've done a lot in terms of defense. I want to see what Derrick Henry can do coming over this team. Cleveland, I think they're the ones that take a major step back out of all the teams. They had a great story last season with Joe Flacco coming in there. But I got them finishing last in terms of this division. And yes, surprise, surprise. I know I'll probably wipe the egg on my face, but I think the Steelers can make the playoffs. I just think Mike Tomlin will will this group to get back to
who's
playoffs.
who's quarterbacking? Who's going to be the starter?
Wilson.
Because
Russell Wilson, and you're going to have to send him an apology letter. I'm already going to call it out. I think Russell Wilson's going to have a very good season.
If they make the playoffs, it's because Justin Fields is under center, not friggin' Russell Wilson.
He makes way too many mistakes, and I think he's going with the veteran, and he's going to take care of the football, have his check downs and Najee Harris, and get it to Pickens when needed, and then they're going to lean on that defense. You're going to see a lot of ugly wins from him, a lot of 13-7 type games. They have Hayward under contract now, and don't forget about Minkah Fitzpatrick. They have a lot of good pieces on this team, and Mike Tomlin, as I always love to say, he's never had a losing season. I think he does just enough to get them in the playoffs, probably that last spot.
Interesting. All right, a couple minutes past the 4 o'clock hour on the East Coast, 16 to book, 60 to play with a Wednesday edition of The Drive with Q. Rich Kenyon is here. We're powered by our good friends over at Play It Again Sports. As we mentioned, Labor Day has come and gone, but you can still check out some of the great in-store merchandise, tees, jackets. They got the baseball caps, cleats, they got the golf equipment and more. They'll give you best dollar for your used sports equipment and give you fair trade for cash as well. 1450 Clemens Bridge Road in Deptford, New Jersey. Play It Again Sports, our official sponsor of our NFL football talk right here on The Drive with Q. All right, so we've got our combatants in the playoffs. We'll keep it simple. AFC, NFC championships. Here we go. I haven't seen what you have tweeted. And again, if people want to get in on the conversation, you guys can certainly get in and you can text the show, comment on the show as well. I'm absolutely shocked. I mean, I did mention that I thought, and again, 727-858-6650, I thought Fields was going to put up some numbers. I just don't see this. I feel as though I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. If I'm saying he's going to put up numbers, that means the offense is going to score. But then I can't in another breath sit there and say the offense is going to struggle because I'm going to sound like a complete jackass, and there's too many of those on the airwaves right now. I think Justin Fields is going to have an opportunity to start, resurrect his career. I think he'll play well enough where they're going to win some games. I just don't see them being a playoff team. Now, others can chime in and agree. But that being said, I think I know you a little bit. I know we know you have a doctorate of BS behind you on the wall, but I'm going to say you're AFC. I have a feeling you're going outside the box, and I think you're going to go. I'm going to say Chiefs and Texans are your AFC title game predictions.
You have one of the teams right. I definitely think it's going to be Chiefs in the mix, but I think it's Burrow versus Mahomes again. I think it's Chiefs Bengals. I just think both these teams are in good spots heading into the season, and you got to always look at who has the better quarterback out there. So it's going to be fun if they both can get there. But I'll go with Chiefs Bengals on the AFC side with the Chiefs winning.
All right, NFC. I think it would be too easy. Yeah, it would be too easy if you went 49ers and the Eagles again. I know you're high on the Lions, right? I think you're high on the Lions. I mean, you're going to go Lions and Green Bay?
Now you have one of the teams right again, and I think it's going to be Lions and the Eagles, a rematch of that game from a couple of years ago. It was really competitive, and The Lions surprised some people, but this year they're not going to sneak up on people. But I think Goff is going to do a great job. I think that defense is going to get a lot better. I think it's going to be Lions versus the Eagles. The Eagles, obviously, on paper, as long as they can get that defense together, they should be in the mix for a conference championship. But in my Super Bowl matchup, I have KC playing the Lions. So I think the Lions.
Which I had last year, by the way.
See? Well, great minds think alike.
Well, half, because, I was riding on. I think I'm a year off. And I'm going to tell you why. Because if you go back, and this, when we talk about the analytics, right? You go back to the championship game. I rewatched it. And the Lions, they had San Francisco right where they wanted them, man. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better scenario than in that playoff game. Now, granted, it was tough. It was a high-scoring game, but they were up. Remember, they kicked a field goal. They were up 24-7 going into the locker room. The defense let them down. They gave up 17 in the third quarter. But the fourth down play, great play call, execution wasn't there, and maybe the right option wasn't there. I say all that to say this. If the Lions get back to the NFC Championship, then I guess I can surmise that Jared Goff had an MVP-like season. Is he a dark horse for MVP this year in your estimation?
Well, in my estimation, we tell you about saying an apologies. He's my pick for MVP, Q. And I put it out there. I think he's just going to have a great season in terms of he's gotten the money, he relaxed, he's got Johnson back at offensive coordinator, and then you talk about all the weapons they have, where there's Gibbs, Montgomery, Laporta, Amon-Ra, St. Brown. Williams is coming to his own as well at the receiver position. I think Goff, and when a team does well, the quarterback automatically gets some style points. So I just think I have Goff winning the MVP. We know that it's a quarterback award. So if he's the top quarterback outside of Mahomes, I think he's going to win that award.
Yeah, it's interesting. He's got a real case. 14 of the past 15 MVP winners have come from top 2 seed in either conference. So he's got a good shot, obviously, and his odds have basically dropped. I mean, if you go back to July, I think they were down to 35-1. Right now, if you look at 2024 NFL MVP odds, Mahomes is the favorite, plus 500. Josh Allen, plus 850. Joe Burrow at plus 900. So I know we'll get into a little more with some of your awards and whatnot, predictions when we do BYP. But all right, my friend, I can live. There are a couple I can live with and a couple I can't really get on board with. But I know you can catch Lloyd every Monday. Lloyd Vance's Insider Football, 8 o'clock on Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game. And then, of course, during the week here on The Drive. And, of course, with me on Back Here Play. The doctor with the diplomas in the back. Appreciate a couple moments, pal. We'll bang out a BYP and we'll jump back on Friday for a couple of week 1 thoughts.
All right, Q. Thanks for having me on.
All right, there you have it. We're up against it, 13 past 4 o'clock hour. Quick timeout. We'll reset the table, 727-858-6650. Keep it locked into a Wednesday edition of The Drive with Q.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, The Game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And, with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have anybody to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Don't forget to get social with us. Follow Q at Rich Q on Q. And now, back to Q.
All right, 16 past 4 o'clock hour. Good stuff from Lloyd Vance, kind enough to join us. Extended segment. We'll have him on Friday when we do our first Football Friday of the season on The Drive right here on Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game. Coastal Sports Network, Rich Quinones, Angel Martinez behind the glass. You guys out there, 727-858-6650. A couple of guys chiming in, taking a little umbrage with the Steelers thought. Yeah, I kind of agree. Want to read off some more of these tweets, some more of these messages as well. Pete chiming in from Tampa. Oh, it's not our Pete Shepard, but there's a Pete chiming in on Facebook from Tampa. Q, enjoying the show. I know you mentioned a little bit on the Bucs and Baker Mayfield kind of duplicating that success. I think this team by default, as you say, should win that division, but I would not write them off and sit there and say they are a serious Super Bowl contender. Can't do it. I cannot for the life of me say Tampa Bay Bucs. I think Gas Pump Guy, who listens religiously, I know he's a Bucs fan. He might agree as well. I mean, plus, I'm pulling it up right now, plus 6,000. Guys, what is that telling you? What is that telling you right now on Tampa? I mean, I'm not messing with that. They're going to win some games. Sometimes you're a product of a division that's just not appealing. I feel the same way about the AFC South. I do. There are certain divisions of football, and there are some teams that I'm just going to steer clear of. Tampa Bay might be one of those teams. I mean, you look at all the teams down in Florida right now, Tampa Bay, Jacksonville, Miami. Miami's got the best shot at making a deep run. Now, Jacksonville had their moments. Jacksonville had their window, their opportunities. Now they've invested a lot of money in Trevor Lawrence. And when the defense faltered and the offense faltered last year, coordinators' heads were rolling. I mean, where's the conversation when we talk about another coach on the hot seat and Doug Peterson? I mean, let's think about that for a moment. If you are a Jacksonville Jags fan right now, you got to open up the season on the road against Miami, and Miami's only laying 3. I almost love Miami in that spot. Then Cleveland, then Buffalo, then Houston, then Indianapolis and Chicago, and you might trip up in one of those games. If Jacksonville starts the season 0-4, you're going to tell me that they're not going to be clamoring to get Doug Peterson out of there? I mean, think about that. And by the way, we don't even know about the play calling. Is it Doug Peterson or is it his guy, Press Taylor, who, oh, by the way, Eagles fans remember this, clear as day. Doug basically said, it's my guy or I'm out with the Philadelphia Eagles. Remember? They had that great relationship. It was all Press Taylor, Press Taylor. All you heard was Press Taylor. He's a guy. We want to highlight Press Taylor. Press Taylor this, Press Taylor that. Okay, fine. Assistant quarterback coach, and passing game coordinator, whatever the hell that is. I got to take this guy with me. It's him or me. Or it's both of us. Well, what happened? Eagles were like, see ya. I mean, we're talking about coaches on the hot seat. I got news for you, Jacksonville, Jags fan. Doug Peterson's on the hot seat. Absolutely on the hot seat. Who the hell's calling plays? I mean, think about this. He came out and said that they're still working through that. Talking about who's calling the plays, who's running the offense, right? Kind of working through it, jokingly talking about it. Okay? So think about this. Doug Peterson gave up play calling duties to Press Taylor last year. And there were reports it was just before the team kicked off against the Colts in week 1 last season. Peterson called plays during his first season with the team in 2020. Who's going to call him now? Who's going to call him now? So you want to talk about another team that's on the hot seat? Jacksonville. Those 3 teams in Florida, to me, the Miami Dolphins are the most talented team. I just don't understand this hate towards the Miami Dolphins. I don't. They figured, you got to fix the defense. So what did they do? They go out, they drafted the kid from Penn State, the kid Robinson, the edge rusher. They got a tackle in the second round. I think in the third or fourth round, they got a backup, running back, serviceable guy. But they got weapons. Tua, Mozart, or as I like to call him, Mustard, Tyreek Hill, Waddle, Barrios. They got weapons. You hand the ball to whoever, they're going to rush for 1,000 yards. To me, they're the most complete team. You talk about the Florida teams, they're the most complete team. They're the most dangerous team. They could shock people this year. They could surprise they can upset the apple cart, man. Because I think it's a foregone conclusion. We're all looking at Kansas City, Baltimore, here we go. And then I mentioned the Eagles and the 49ers. Here we go. So Friday, we'll do our picks. We'll do our week 1 plays. We'll have you guys chime in as well, 727-858-6650. But I want to switch gears for a couple moments. And I don't know how many of you guys are fans out there. I had to bring this up because it's getting more and more comical by the day. So I've been watching a lot of the WNBA because I like Caitlin Clark. And I think so, on both sides of the ball. But there's this disconnect. And I know I'm going to hear from you guys, and that's okay. You're entitled to your opinion. I tend to side with what Charles Barkley is saying, that the league, could not have screwed this up any more than they have, right? Because you're kicking a gift horse in the mouth here. You really are. And it's just funny how every time we turn around, I mean, the ratings are up by hundreds of percent, and arenas are selling out, including NBA arenas when Caitlin Clark comes to town. They never existed. And I'm not taking away from what other players have done, but this is the reality, man. She puts fannies in the seats. And you get the flagrant fouls. You get people mocking her. You get teammates. You get players. You get coaches throwing her under the bus. You get the media throwing her under the bus. What are we doing? How's that going to raise the profile of the league? This is a league that has struggled historically to draw fans and to hold a fan's attention for more than 5 seconds. And what I found really interesting was this whole Cheryl Swoops, Nancy Lieberman beef, that they're not friends anymore. Because, Nancy Lieberman didn't like the way that Cheryl Swoops was calling the game, and the comments very critical of Caitlin Clark. And then, again, Caitlin Clark, caught in the middle, and Nancy Lieberman defending her, and Swoops kind of walking back the comments. It's and you're ending a friendship. They're ending a friendship over comments. I mean, think about that for a moment. How petty do you have to be if, to even want to do that? And the handling of Caitlin Clark, I think, has been a disgrace. I really do. I really do. I just think I think the handling, and I think the coverage at times has been a disgrace. I think you're basically saying to yourself that, we just hate on this kid because we hate on this kid. And it's unfortunate because she's a hell of a player. But we don't want to see that, right? We want to draw other lines. But it's nonsense in the WNBA right now. And the handling and the coverage is just it's been pathetic. I mean, we're gonna piss on this kid. We're gonna piss on this kid. And I know I'm gonna hear it, right? I know I'm gonna hear it from you guys, and you're entitled 727-858-6650. I'm waiting to hear it because I'm getting some messages on Facebook as well. It's and I had people the other day, they were making it a black and white issue. It's not. If you guys want to make it that issue, go ahead, have fun with it, whatever. Enjoy yourselves. I'm not going to get into it. What I'm saying is that why isn't it not a bad look when you have a player of this magnitude, but yet I feel as though she's not fully embraced? And I thought it was a disgrace. Her teammates earlier on in the season did not come to her defense. And quite frankly, I get it. You've got old school players that have, again, forged the path, so to speak. I get it. And you got Stephen A saying that Cheryl Swoops was removed for personal feelings against Caitlin Clark. Now, again, maybe it's much to do about nothing. Again, maybe it's blown out of proportion. I don't know. But all I'm saying is the league, the attendance, the ratings, the broadcasting right, the advertising, it's not there. She's not playing. And yes, there are other players in the league. I get it. So why is it wrong if somebody thinks or says that this kid's a savior of the league, or, this kid's saving the league, or it's great to have this kid in the league and she's dynamic and it's fun to watch and here we go? Can't have nice things. We can't have nice things. And there are very good players in the league. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I am an expert when it comes to these rosters and these teams with the WNBA, but I was very enthralled with what transpired last year in college. And I followed Reese and I followed Clark and I loved it. Jovan chimes in, vehemently disagree with Barkley, and the Swoops thing was blown out of proportion. Social media played a part in that. We don't blink an eye when people debate about Bron or insert star here. But that's not true. We do, Jovan. We do. We debate it. We definitely debate it. We do. LeBron's a lightning rod, and Caitlin Clark for some reason, she's a lightning rod. Why? All I'm saying is this player or said player is just trying to play and just go about her business. And yet she gets sucked into the nonsense. It's like we're trying to find something to be angry about. We're trying to find something to not enjoy, right? I think when people mess up is they are putting Caitlin Clark as a savior of the league. Cindy Brunson said yesterday the league needed promotion. It was always great. And Jovan continues, I want to read this. She's a lightning rod because how certain people on social media act and people using her to push agendas. I don't agree with that 100%, brother. I don't. She's a lightning rod. There are certain media outlets and there are certain networks and talking heads that will push certain things. That's fair. But then, we're doing it. Then I guess we're guilty of it. Are we not? Because I'm talking about it. I think the point of me bringing it up was I just have a very hard time. Why can't we just enjoy what we're seeing, whether it's Reese or whether it's Clark or whether it's whomever, right? It's just, I feel as though there's too much nitpicky when it comes to Clark. And I think there's too much pettiness and there's too much jealousy. That's just me. I mean, listen, are we going to have this horrible full-blown debate when it comes to Rookie of the Year? I mean, this kid's averaging 24 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists per game in August. Okay, she won the Rookie of the Month in May and July. So the numbers are outstanding. But what's going to happen is if she doesn't win the Rookie of the Year, shit's going to hit the fan. All I'm saying is just enjoy it. That's all. That's all it is. Just enjoy it. I enjoy it. But I think also the problem is that we've got the other pundits and the talking heads that, as Giovanna alluded to, that a couple other people on Facebook alluded to. Patty chimes in, Q, this is a great topic of conversation, and you can do a whole piece and a segment on this. As a female former Hoops fan, I absolutely love what's going on with the WNBA. I, like you, I can care less if she's black, white, green, yellow, blue. It doesn't matter to me. As long as she's putting up the numbers, she's putting fannies in the seats, and the attendance is up, and the product is being pushed the right way. I do find it petty that some of her teammates seem to not like her, and other players in the league don't respect her. Love the show. Appreciate that. That's a lot of stuff there. Yeah, listen, it is petty, but I think we're accustomed to that kind of stuff. We're accustomed to that. Just enjoy it. And to Jovan's point, you're right. I mean, maybe to the diehard fans that watch religiously, they just go about and enjoying it. And I can't sit there and tell you that I'm a diehard. I can't sit there and tell you that I'm a casual. If she's playing, it's like Shohei Ohtani. I want to see the friggin' at bat. If she's on the floor, I want to watch. And I can tell you right now, there's only a handful of players, respectively in sport, that if you say to me, hey, you're going to stop and watch, there's a handful. I mean, there really are. You know, when Jordan, when Iverson, when those guys were in their prime, I wanted to see what AI was going to do. Right? I wanted to see Jordan he's dropping 55 against my Knicks. Right? But when Trout, you know, was up at bat, or Aaron Judge, I want to see these guys. You know, when Shohei Ohtani's the plate, and by the way, horrible job by the friggin' Angels. I mean, what are you doing? This guy used to work here. That's your billboard for Shohei Ohtani? Are you friggin' kidding me? Without him, and Trout's been injured the last couple of years, baseball doesn't exist out there, you jackasses. But I want to watch him. I want to watch that at bat. When Clark's playing, I want to watch her. I enjoy it. I appreciate it. I think she's talented. But as some have already pointed out, no matter what, it's kind of the sad reality. Larry on Facebook chimes in, Q, it's always going to be black or white. I know you don't want to talk about it. I know you want to admit it, but at the end of the day, it's always going to be a black or white issue. Okay, then call me naive. What am I not supposed to cheer for this kid because she's white? Right? I mean, if she was black and she was putting up these numbers, I would still cheer for her. If she's yellow, I'm still cheering for her. If she's green, I'm still cheering. I love her game. I love her game. I don't care where she's from, what college she went to. I love her game. I appreciate her game. I like Reese's game. I like a lot of the players' games. I love watching Luka. I love watching Joker. I do. Absolutely love it. They're fantastic. You know, I appreciate the different styles of games. There are certain athletes that I gravitate towards. There are certain players that I enjoy watching, and I will stop what I'm doing. When the Angels were playing, I'll stay up late. Now when he's with the Dodgers, I love the fact that we're going to see him in the playoffs, and it's going to be must watch all the time. But me, I just see a great player that is doing a lot of good for the league. That's what I see. And I can appreciate it. That's all. I can appreciate it. And I think, again, if people were a little more open-minded And as Jovan pointed out, and a couple other commenters pointed out, sometimes we're starving for the controversial take, the controversial topic, right? We want to sit there and say, oh man, can you imagine if Caitlin Clark was black? Oh my God, I can't believe you just said that on the air. Can you imagine? And people were treating her like this, right? That's people want that. They want to fire that off. Me, man, I don't care what color you are. Put up the numbers. I'm going to enjoy it. But we do have some networks and some talking heads that want to spin it in that direction, that want to make it that type of divisive debate argument. And let's be honest, it's always going to be divisive. You can't have that type of conversation. It cannot be a fluid conversation. It cannot be an intellectual conversation. It cannot be a disagreement, because to some, the disagreement becomes an argument. The argument becomes a confrontation. The confrontation turns into a fight. We've dealt with people like that our whole lives. We know exactly who they are, right? And like I said, I don't care. Talk to me about, watch what they do, right? Jovan, before we take the last time out, I have a friend who debates me all the time between Reese and Clark, and he's a Clark person. I tell him I want to talk about the action on the court. You do. But talking heads, when they need content, Jovan, and you know this as well as I do, they want to make it more. They want to make it more. And my problem is, if you're going to be disparaging, if you're going to be negative towards this girl when she's playing, then you shouldn't be on the broadcast. There's a difference between being opinionated and being critical. But if you're flat out going there and you're raining on this kid's parade, I mean, how many former players, the older players who no longer have it, you would think they would support this kid. And it seems like the majority of them, they don't. That's the problem. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back on the other side. 1:37. We will take you up to 5 o'clock straight up, 727-858-6650. Do not forget, Friday, we are going football heavy, as we like to do our first edition of our Football Friday edition of The Drive. But we want to make sure you guys know about our good friends at Acorn to Oak, your outsource marketing department. They do social media management, website development, maintenance, and SEO. One-stop talent acquisition platforms. And they also have the new Site Squirrel, which is a lead generation tool, 500 IDs, 2-week trial basis, and you'll get a return on your investment. Check them out online, a2oak.com. 1:37, we'll take you up to 5 o'clock straight up.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all of these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Awesome. Where were you, Jill?
Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think.
Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Download the Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game app and tell your friends that Florida has a new leader in digital sports radio.
All right. Got about 20 to play with. It's a little WNBA talk. Yeah, like I said, man, all I see is a kid making plays on the floor, growing the sport, helping put the fannies in the seats. I don't care. White, black, green, blue. But the jealousy is real. We got to admit that, right? We got to admit that. Got to be able to appreciate great athletes, right? I mean, this is how goofy we're getting. And I don't know if you saw this story, but I think it was Marlon Humphrey had a walk back comment because he was pissed off that Simone Biles and another gymnast, they were bowing. I think it was Jordan Childs. They were bowing down at a Brazilian athlete who I guess she won the gold medal. Yeah. So then he had to walk back to comments and this and that and talking about all this other nonsense. And I'm like, oh my God, man, just what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? Like, allow people to just be themselves and let's not constantly butt into everything that's going on. It's this whole Taylor Swift nonsense and Travis Kelce. I told you, everything is scripted. Here we go. If it is, it is. Then guess what? You all got taken for a ride. Yes. Incredible shrinking, Hermano. What's going on, Angel?
Sure. Well, listen, excuse me if I may interfere for a second, but no, dude, it's got to be scripted. I'm glad you brought that up because who puts out there on exact date they're going to do this, that? That was like, remember when Snoop said he was done smoking and then he came out with that smoker? So, come on.
That's marketing. That's great
is.
marketing and branding.
It is, but it's the same way too. Like they're not... That's almost like J-Lo telling Ben, hey, Ben, by the way, on August 29th, we're done. Huh, okay. It's so dumb.
So you think this guy is literally going to fly all over the place. She's going to fly all over the place and it's scripted. And he did this so he can actually enhance already a Hall of Fame career. He's won multiple Super Bowls. He's made millions of dollars. What's the benefit? What, locking up $100 million deal with your brother for a podcast, getting marketing? I mean, what? If the lawyers got to come into play, don't you think there's some legitimacy that this is fake and not real? Or you believe that this is all a facade for what reason, I guess? Like what does Travis Kelce, because now Swifties know who he is and now the NFL knows who Taylor Swift is. They already knew who Taylor Swift is. There's a 20-second promo. I think she's in it for 15 seconds out of the 20.
Yeah, plus, I mean, they're both known, so it's not like it's anything
right.
new.
So my question is, why do you think this is fake?
Because it's got, you don't put a date specifically, and they're not even married unless you're planning on getting engaged, but you're not putting a specific date saying that this is when we're going to break up. I mean, that's silly. That was almost be like any relationship here in America or anywhere around the world. You tell somebody you're with your significant other for, let's just say 20 years. And then you wake up the one morning and say, I think September 28th is a good day that we're going to call it quits. It just seems just stupid. I won't use the other word, but it seems stupid.
Right. Which tells me that it's made up. It's fake. Right. It's not real.
Yeah. Right. Whoa.
So you believe they're a legit, genuine couple? Yeah.
Holy
you do.
Crap. A lot of flickering going on over here.
There's a lot of BS too coming from that way too. A lot of it. So you believe
what?
All right. So I thought what you were saying, the way you were wording it, is you thought that it was a scam and a sham, but you believe they are genuinely in love, and one day they will sprout out little Swiftie babies.
Yeah, because I just don't see it. Why? It just doesn't make. We've never heard anything negative, right, about Travis Kelce and out of any of his relationships. It was like Debbie and I were just talking about it yesterday, that think about any athlete who's done anything silly or ridiculous has always been ousted, except for who? Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter said that he would not get serious with his relationship until after he was done playing Major League Baseball, which he did. And then the same way, what woman in their right mind?
Yeah, but he also used to send him. He also used to send him a nice little.
Right, that's what I mean. They had a parting gift. Like they would go on a
Parting
date,
gift.
and then then he
Is it
would.
a fruit basket?
Huh?
Is that, I mean, is that a proper? Do
Nah.
you do it? I mean, it's like a one night stand, a couple night. You give a fruit basket. Is that apropos?
Yeah, I mean, holy craps! Sorry, we have lightning strikes right outside the studio window here. But no, you said more than just a fruit basket.
I mean, the chocolates in there. What else? I mean, the perfumes. Do you throw in? I mean, imagine. You're spending a night with Derek Jeter. You're waking up in the morning, and number 2 is off gallivanting about, getting ready to go to Yankee Stadium, right?
Right.
All of a sudden, you wake up and you got a couple oranges and apples and a note. That's.
That'd be something. Wake up in the morning, look at the counters. He's gone. Wait, an apple? Oh, what's his note say? Thanks for last night.
Friggin' Kevin Costner left Susan Sarandon a apple in the bed in Bull Durham. Crash Davis, right? Now you're Derek Jeter. You're worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And what do I get for my troubles? I get a night with the captain, number 2, and then in the morning for breakfast, I don't have eggs over easy. I don't have moons over Miami. I don't have croissants. I don't have a nice cappuccino or espresso. I got a couple friggin' apples and oranges.
Exactly. You just had Kevin Bacon, who just serenaded his longtime partner, Kara Sedgwick, in the bathroom for 36 years.
36.
I did, honest to God, I had no clue they were together. I just...
You can connect Kevin Bacon to any actor.
Of course.
Can
6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
The what?
6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Can you do it? Because I can do it. I can connect Kermit the Frog to Kevin Bacon.
All right. And go.
So Kermit the Frog was in one of the Muppet movies with Brian Dennehy. Brian Dennehy was in a great 80s movie called FX with Brian Brown, the English actor. Brian Brown was in a great 80s movie called Cocktail with one Tom Cruise, who was in A Few Good Men with
Kevin Bacon. Lord. Exactly. Well, yeah, that's some good Kevin Bacon knowledge.
Listen, I mean, that's... hold on. I got to give the prison break update.
Holy craps. We are getting some fast and furious and close lightning strikes.
So I'm on season 5. Okay. And now all of a sudden, he's in jail in Yemen. And now it appears that one Michael Schofield is not really who we thought he was. It's getting progressively worse by the minute, by the episode. I'm actually getting annoyed now as I watch it, but yet I'm still watching it, man, because I still have Prison Break, the movie, one final break coming up that's left. So I got to get through season 5. So I just wanted to give the update. Yeah, well, what are you doing over there? What are you, Jumpy Jumperton?
No, listen, lightning. When I mean the lightning strikes are like right across the way.
You're worse than the friggin' dog when she hears something jumping off the sofa like that.
Yeah, well, guess what? Even Debbie friggin' screamed in the other room as well because that was 2 back to back. See, we have storms around here, which makes it even friggin'. Yeah, see, she even came into the studio here. We have storms around here where we get the flash flooding, but then we also get it where we get lightning strikes and like zero rain. Like right now, the rain went away, nothing but dark skies. But we'll get the lightning strikes that are friggin' nuts around here, which is never a good thing when we get that because it's like different pockets, and then it's never a good deal. Never, whether being for the electric or never being for the internet, or sometimes even with me because it'll come through in the area, and then all of a sudden, in the headphones, you'll get that strike in your ears as well.
Yeah, I wasn't paying attention. You know why? Because I got my movie wrong with Brian Denny, and now it's going to bother me.
Uh-oh.
I mean, I was trying to pay attention, but I apologize because I really wasn't paying attention. It still connects. Don't worry. I still connected him. Because he was in Cocoon, which was a great movie. And then obviously Wilford Brimley was in Cocoon. Wilford Brimley was also in The Firm with Tom Cruise, who was in A Few Good Men.
All right.
I'd have to figure out a way to connect Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy later. But point being, yeah. And listen, I mean, yeah, you got some lightning down there. It dipped to, what was it last night? 67. So you know how everyone scatters away after Labor Day?
Yeah.
It reminded me, because now it's so peaceful. I posted it on Facebook and X. It reminded me on the scene in Gladiator when the guy was burying little toys after Russell Crowe's, after Maximus passed away. And he goes, this is how I feel about the Shoobies and the Shore people. Get the hell out of here. When he goes, I will see you again, but not yet.
Oh boy.
Not yet. That's how I felt. Like, yeah, I'll see you guys summer of 2025.
Exactly. Unless you get those crazy Indian summers, towards the
We do.
fall.
We do. We'll get a couple nice days. Absolutely. Yeah, we'll see how it is. But all right. Well, listen, we got Football Friday coming up, and we'll give you some picks. We'll give you some plays, and I will give you a quick 3-2 Phils right now on top of Toronto, bottom of the 7th. And if you guys want some updated standings, Baltimore is a half game up on the Yanks. Cleveland's going to win the Central. Man, I'll tell you, what a choke job by Seattle. They had the West. It was 1, and now the Astros are going to be a playoff team, again winning the division. Mets are starting to make a little bit of noise right there in the wild card. Atlanta's still right there, but the Phillies are up 7 and 7.5 games respectively. Milwaukee's winning the Central, and the Dodgers are running away with the West. Did you see what the Angels did last night? They put up a sign for Shohei. Oh, he used to work here. Like, really? Like, without Ohtani, Mike Trout getting hurt all those years. I mean, Ohtani's the face of baseball.
Correct.
He's going to win the MVP again. I mean, it's 44 home runs. He'll drive in over 100. I think he has 30 doubles. He's got 45 stolen bases, and he's batting .296. He's just... I think we debated if he was worth the money. Like, what are we paying him for as a pitcher or a hitter or both? I think it's pretty clear that he's a generational player, man. Absolutely generational player. So,
yes. But
yeah.
Angels fans can get upset all they want to. I mean, what do you want the guy to do? It's like any other freaking athlete. How many have we not lost in Philly and New York and other places where it's like, oh, they're going to win a championship somewhere else. Look at the Flyers, what it was about 10 years ago, turn out to be Flyers West, go to LA Kings, and what happens? The Kings turn around and freaking win, 2 and 3 years, Stanley Cups. So,
yeah, I mean, listen, sometimes you got to go where the money is and you got to go where the opportunity. And we pretty much knew that the Angels were rebuilding. We know Trout's getting older. And, I mean, if you're Ohtani, you got 6-7 years left. I mean, Ohtani, even though Ohtani's 30, he's got 6, 7, 8 years left. I mean, he's already in the Hall of Fame, man. It's utterly ridiculous, the numbers he's putting up. 46, 34, 44, 44 home runs. He's probably going to surpass his career high, which he hit a couple of years ago. But I'm excited because I finally get to see him in the postseason.
Right.
And, the Angels have not been a very good baseball team. So you really haven't had an opportunity to see him and his at-bats. I mean, he is, you showcase that. He is kind of that Caitlin Clark effect. When they're playing, I want to watch. And there's Patrick Mahomes, I want to watch. Tom Brady in his prime, I want to watch. There's a handful of players that you want to turn on and you want to watch when they're about to play, and he's one of them.
Yep.
All right, there you go. Great analysis from Angel. All right, so as we start to wrap it up, worried about the
Well, here, let me show you something here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Therefore, you can see, which it absolutely stinks.
Go ahead, fire away.
Because I text you a picture as far as the what you call it there, so this is the nasty stuff that we're getting right now. And usually when it turns out to be like that red, that is like bolt after bolt after bolt. And that's the reason why we're lightning capital. What makes it worse is we're getting the now wind coming behind it, which we get the microburst. And I didn't take down the flag, nor am I going out there now, because usually when we get a microburst, we can get up to 45 to 50 mile an hour, like just a wind gust, and the pole might be going sideways, literally. So that's why.
All right. So you know what we'll do?
See,
we'll wrap it up on this Wednesday. You got your Doppler out there, and we want you to be careful out there in Tampa land. I've got a dog that sounds like she hasn't eaten in 17 days, which is not the case because she eats very well. She eats better than I do. So we'll start to wrap it up. Good stuff from Lloyd Vance. Excellent stuff from you guys on social and the engagement. The show will be up on demand. Do not forget, you'll catch Angel on Friday. Martinez Company 10 to 12. He'll follow Pete Shepard from 7 to 10. You can also catch Pete tomorrow with the Pete Shepard Show. I'll be back in the saddle for our first Football Friday edition of The Drive on Friday from 3 to 5-ish. We might bleed over. We got some good feedback when we bled over 5 o'clock. So we'll do picks, plays, predictions, college football. We'll dive into that as well. Keep it locked in right here. SR 1029 FM The Game. Download the app. Check us out on X, Coastal Sports Network. For Angel Martinez, Lloyd Vance, as always, I'm Rich Quinones. Have a wonderful Sports Wednesday. We will talk to you Friday from 3 to 5 live with The Drive. As always, hasta luego, buen día.